Why 80% of New Zealand is empty? New Zealand, the second most peaceful country in the world, is about 4,000 kilometers away from Australia, just south of the Pacific Ocean. The weather in New Zealand is exactly like the UK, mild summers, long winters, and moderate rainfall. Despite this, the population of New Zealand is not even 7% of the population of the UK. Almost 80% of New Zealand is empty. 70% of the population of New Zealand lives in the north, and 50% of the population of the north also lives in Auckland. New Zealand is very far from the rest of the world, so how did humans reach this island so far away from the world? According to the official website of New Zealand, the Maori people, a tribe living in Polynesian islands, discovered New Zealand between 1320 to 1350. However, Maori's historical records show that New Zealand was discovered around 750 AD by a Maori named Kupe. Kupe was a fisherman who caught fish, but his fish would be eaten by the octopuses found in that area. To solve this problem, Kupe, along with his companions, went to the Pacific Ocean to find another habitable island. After a few days, they discovered New Zealand, an island rich in seafood, sheep, goats, and fruits, on which there was no other human being. It was the perfect place for Kupe and his tribe. In this way, the Maori people started settling in New Zealand. Till the 17th century, the Maori people lived peacefully in New Zealand. But then came the time when Western nations were expanding all over the world to increase their power by capturing new islands, countries, and continents that were not known to the world. In this connection, a Dutch explorer, Abel Tasman, set out in search of a continent in the south of the Pacific Ocean, and in 1642, Tasman discovered New Zealand. But when he tried to enter there, he had a brutal fight with the Maori people and was forced to flee. Then in 1769, a British officer, James Cook, reached New Zealand, but again there was a fierce battle between James's soldiers and the Maori people, and James had to go back, but this time he made a detailed map of New Zealand and their entire journey. Through the map, Europeans started reaching the island again in the 18th century, and this time they dealt with the Maori people in a very smart way, by luring them with trade and profit. The Britishers started building their naval ports there, and then after 100 years, the British took complete control of New Zealand. A treaty was signed between the Britishers and the Maori people, which is called the Treaty of Waitangi. After this treaty, New Zealand officially became a part of Europe and the British Empire. At that time, the population of the Maori people was about 200,000, which decreased to 40,000 in the next 100 years. There were two reasons for this. Firstly, when the Europeans arrived, the diseases that were common in Europe were also brought there, to which the Maori people had not developed immunity, so they started falling ill and dying. Secondly, in the 19th century, New Zealand had become a very violent place. After 5 years of the Treaty of Waitangi, a series of wars over land ownership began between the British and the local Maori, which continued for the next 40 years. Many local Maoris were killed, and finally, the whole process stopped in 1881 when all the major Maori chiefs were killed and the Maori movement was completely crushed. Now the British had also understood that progress cannot be made without including the locals in the development process. So immediately after these wars, the British government made the locals a key stakeholder in every development project from the electorate process. And the journey of peace and progress finally began in New Zealand. But why is so much of New Zealand's area empty? And why all the people live in the north remains to be answered. It's because there are mountain ranges everywhere in the southern part of New Zealand, and the land is so uneven that even building basic infrastructure like roads and etc. is almost impossible. The land on the eastern side of the mountains is very dry and infertile, due to which irrigation and others cannot be done here. That's why the majority of New Zealand's population live in the north. To solve the issue of population shortage, the new government relaxed the immigration policies after World War II. Before World War II, entry of non-white people into New Zealand was prohibited, and due to this, the population of New Zealand remained stagnant until 1950. After that, when the restriction ended, people from Asia, especially China, the Philippines and India, started coming here, and the much-needed boom in the population of New Zealand occurred. Today, almost 27% of New Zealand's population are immigrants or people who are not born there. The majority of immigrants live in Auckland and its surrounding areas, and this is why Auckland is one of the least affordable cities in the world today, because the land supply is low and housing demand is high. To solve this problem, the New Zealand government is now giving a grant of up to $8,000 to people so that they can shift to Waikato, 100 kilometers away from Auckland, so that the pressure on Auckland's housing market is reduced and prices are normalized. The entire agricultural industry of New Zealand thrives on exporting animal meat. In the north, due to rain, there's such lush green land due to which innumerable goats and cows are found. The population of the sheep and goats are almost 30 million. In 2019, New Zealand earned a revenue of $46 billion from the export of meat. This is all about today's video. Please like, share, and comment your views. Thank you for watching.